Are you disappointed with your ice cream lately? Because I am. I want something cold and delicious, but I keep getting burned by the over-aerated frothy goo that companies keep selling as ice cream. If I wanted a tub of frozen whipped cream, I'd buy Cool Whip, which isn't whipped cream. It's a trick, but that's not the point, at least not yet. What I'm going to do is show you how much ice cream you're actually getting for your money. Let's find out which famous brands are making an honest product and which ones aren't. So with that said, let's get going. It's time for me to start busting. Busting the myth that you're getting as much ice cream as you expect in the container. I already made the title card. Here's the plan, so pay attention because it's complicated. First, I'm going to hop into my very fast car and speed over to my local grocery mega chain Monopoly. Then I'm going to grab a cart and fill it up with way too much ice cream. I'm going to buy non-chunky flavors without any mix-ins in a half-gallon size. Next, I'm going to put them in a cooler and rush home before they melt, refreeze them for a little bit, and weigh the entire container on a kitchen scale. Then I'll graph the results and we can talk about what we learned. So, why weigh it when the ice cream is sold by volume? Well, the way they get you to buy less ice cream in the same size container is to dilute it by mixing in air. Lots and lots of air. We want to know how much tasty stuff you're getting in the container, like sugar and expensive cream, relative to the amount of air, which many communities provide free of charge. There are two main ways we can figure this out. We know the volume, so we can weigh the ice cream to figure out its density. It's fast and easy. Or we can release the air by melting the ice cream and measure the volume of the ice cream base without the air, which is going to be messy and will ruin the ice cream. Weighing is a little less accurate since the ice cream base and the packaging are all going to be different, but I think pretty similar. But on the other hand, if I pour melted ice cream between containers, it's still not perfectly accurate because a little is always going to be left behind. And later you'll see that melted ice cream can still be foamy. Turns out it's hard to get air out of ice cream, and I don't have a vacuum chamber, so I'm just going to weigh it. Another upside is you can try it for yourself, post your results, and still have your ice cream. Just mega blast a comment at me with the weight, container size, and price. First up is Blue Bunny Soft, a new take on soft serve. Soft serve ice cream? No. Soft serve frozen dairy dessert. So we're kind of off to a bad start. 813 grams. Next up is Kroger Private Selection Double Vanilla, 1,171 grams. Kroger Deluxe Ice Cream Season's Best Eggnog, 861 grams. Signature Select Simply Churned Vanilla Reduced Fat Ice Cream, 749 grams. Great Value Vanilla Bean, 838 grams. Eddie's French Vanilla. This is the same as Dreyer's, sort of a Hardee's Carl's Jr. situation. 755 grams. Look how much this stuff is deflated. It's just been sitting out here for not even 10 minutes. Fat Boy Super Premium, 559 grams. They've done everything possible to make you think this is the same size as one of those other quart-and-a-half containers, but it's only 30 ounces. That's not even a full quart, which makes me pretty unhappy. And look, they talk about artisan ice cream makers on the back, but they never actually say whether or not this product is real ice cream. If they can't call it ice cream, I'm not going to assume it's ice cream. Tillamook Old Fashioned Vanilla, 879 grams. Breyer's Extra Creamy Vanilla Frozen Dairy Dessert, 778 grams. Breyer's Dulce de Leche, 739 grams. Bluebell Vanilla Bean, this one's a real half gallon, 1,490 grams. Reese's Chocolate, made by Breyer's. This one does have chunks, but I want to know if these licensed candy brands are any different, and they're always going to be chunky. 768 grams. Signature Select French Vanilla, 829 grams. Finally, we have Blue Bunny Vanilla Bean Ice Cream, 884 grams. Now for the results. Here's all our measurements on a nice, easy-to-read graph. This is just our starting point. The Fat Boy and the Bluebell are obvious outliers since they were different sizes. Also, ice cream isn't sold by weight, so density is what we really care about. This density is really starting to show us how much ice cream we get. This is all relative. We're still assuming that the difference in container weight is negligible. Also, this is showing the number of grams per fluid ounce, which is dumb, but a little bit less dumb than ounces per fluid ounce. The biggest thing to notice here is that there's a huge gap between the premium brands and the standard brands. We have a perfect example here between Kroger Private Selection and the cheaper Kroger Deluxe. This doesn't necessarily mean that a more dense ice cream tastes better, but the existence of the premium brand suggests that Kroger believes people will be willing to pay more for ice cream with less air in it. Now, the chart gets even more interesting when you can separate the products that can call themselves ice cream from the products that can't. Products labeled frozen dairy dessert and light ice cream are marked in red. You can see a clear grouping, which at least in this test suggests to me that the Fat Boy Super Premium might actually be a standard ice cream, and also that Eddie's ice cream maybe shouldn't be calling itself ice cream. Now, for the last of these charts, we have the value ranked relative to their weight. We see that Kroger Deluxe and Great Value gives us the most ice cream per dollar, followed by Eddie's, which made up for its low weight by being on sale for bargain basement pricing. Prices change every day. This chart is just what I paid at the time. Kroger Private Select was our most dense ice cream, giving it a strong value despite its higher price. Our most expensive ice cream, Bluebell, still makes it to the middle of the chart since it offers both a denser product and a larger container. Rounding out the bottom of our list is every single Breyer's product. That's Breyer's with a B, not Dreyer's with a D. They all share the second highest price, lowest density, and none of them are technically ice cream. The overall worst on our list is Fat Boy Super Premium, as it gets pummeled by a self-inflicted 1-2 punch of above average pricing and a much smaller container. Okay, obviously ice cream needs some air in it to be delicious, but companies are taking it way too far. There's a standard for this, and it's called overrun percentage. A typical premium ice cream will have an overrun percentage of 20% to 30%. The formula to calculate it is on screen. Basically, this means half of the overrun percentage is the amount of air in the ice cream by volume. So you can expect a normal premium ice cream to be about 10 to 15% air. The thing about this is, I can't find any US FDA standard for the maximum amount of air that can be in ice cream before it stops being ice cream. Ice cream is sold by volume, but there doesn't seem to be any specific limit to how much of that volume is allowed to be filled with empty, pointless air, so long as the air is mixed into the ice cream. That is, I think, the root of our problem. And that's why they can put too much air into ice cream. But the test I did can't be used to calculate overrun percentage, and now I need to know how badly this loophole is being abused, so you know what that means. It's time for a bonus test! Since the Eddie's ice cream already lost so much volume by sitting out for a few minutes, let's just melt this one all the way down and figure out its overrun percentage. Because at this point, it's not worth saving. I don't want to eat it. So, I've had this ice cream sitting out for about 2 hours, and it still hasn't lost its shape all the way. I'm gonna have to put it in the fridge for the night, and we'll see what happens by tomorrow evening. Alright, here we are in the future, and I hope you can see that the air just isn't leaving this ice cream. There's just this massive foam sitting there and wiggling around. It's actually kind of creepy. So at this point, I'm just going to try and force the air out. I've got a little pump and a container with a hole in the lid. I can't tell if the air is coming out, but the container's getting crushed, so at least the pump's working. I don't know, I give up. That didn't work at all. Let's give this another day and see where we're at. Okay, we're at what, almost 3 days here, and this is getting ridiculous. There's still a thick layer of foam at the top, and you can see the separation of the liquid. I tried smashing it out with a spoon, I tried shaking it, I don't know. Maybe it's one of the additives causing it. I blame pectin. I'm glad I didn't try this with all 14 things of ice cream. Alright, I managed to get most of the air out, and look at this, 22, call it 23 ounces of ice cream base from a 48 ounce container. That's less than half. There's more air in this container than ice cream. That's stupid. In my opinion, they shouldn't be allowed to call this ice cream. So the Eddie's ice cream, aka Dryers, comes out to an overrun of about 109%, which is outrageous. It's not ice cream with some air in it, it's a tub of air, but maybe we'll throw in a bit of ice cream later, you know? If it's convenient, not acceptable. I would tell you not to buy it, but do I actually need to say that? You've had ice cream before, you've bought it recently, you feel me. The ice cream aisle is a minefield of low quality and lies. Dozens, if not hundreds of products that are straight trying to trick you. Higher prices, smaller packages. Just look at the Breyers extra creamy vanilla that says cream on it over and over on the package, despite the fact it's literally not ice cream. You buy an old favorite, but it doesn't seem as good anymore. So you buy something new, and that's even worse. We're all being burned by ice cream. It's not just me saying that either, it's the American public. If something is bad enough for long enough, we just stop consuming it. In the US, ice cream consumption has been dropping pretty much every year for the last 20 years. You've seen this exact headline in the news this year, and a couple of years ago, and probably most years. But actually, you haven't seen those headlines, and you'll just have to take my word for it, because you've stopped consuming clickbait news, right? That's how it works. When something is bad enough for long enough, we just stop consuming it, right? Right? Well, that was the point I was trying to make in the first draft of this script. Then I spent another 5 seconds trying to prove it, and you know what I found out? Ice cream sales are doing just fine. In terms of dollars, the ice cream market isn't shrinking, it's growing. Rising prices and inflation didn't explain it either. It looks like we're still buying ice cream, but we aren't consuming it. Are people other than me buying ice cream after pointless ice cream in a futile effort to fill their freezers and by extension, the empty, lonely holes in their lives? No, that wouldn't make sense. So I went back and I took a closer look at that USDA data on lower ice cream consumption. That's when it all clicked. That's when everything I've been doing here finally started to make sense. Ice cream consumption is measured by weight, not by volume. We're still eating as much ice cream as we used to, but now it weighs less. There's simply less ice cream in our ice cream. The symbol of comfort and taste of joy in our lives has been slowly stripped away, replaced with the empty, vapid nothingness of air. And as you sit there bleaching your wide eyes in the clinical haze of your screen, there's only one question left, isn't there? Itching at the back of your mind like a shattered fiberglass splinter. Which of these ice creams tastes best? And look, I'm not one to sit here and pass my objective judgment on your subjective taste. Whichever flavor of Bluebell you buy is fine by me. But what I can do instead is bring things around full circle. At the start of all this, before any testing, I set out to buy every half-gallon container of ice cream that I could find in this part of Colorado. So here's a list of every company who makes one. Just go ahead and buy any of those brand, and I think you'll be in pretty good shape. Oh, and the worst one was Breyers. It's a cheap knockoff of Dreyer's, which is also bad. They're triple threat with the least dense product, most misleading packaging, and terrible value. Honorable mention goes to Fat Boy Super Premium, who had the worst value, smallest container, and I still have absolutely no idea if it's ice cream, but it's not the worst because I happen to really like the phrase super premium, and I'm gonna be using that later a lot. See you next time.